Well, we are having this very special chat with the USL, Diageo India, and Hina Nagarajan, the person in the hot seat right now, have been trying to do a lot of changes at the company. They promised you more premiumization efforts at the company portfolio level. A lot of stuff to couple of quarters back, and you can see some of the transactions which have recently happened. After the results also, we did see follow-up buying coming in the stock. Hina is conversing with us today. Hina, thank you so much for your time. First, let's talk about this transaction which you have announced. The market did appreciate it. Tell us what was the thinking behind it, and how did you go about executing it? Because I understand there were certain challenges as well. Talk to us more about it.
So thanks for having me here, first of all. Good to see you. And I would say that, look, we've announced in our strategy that we want to go for sustained, profitable top line, double-digit top line growth. And we have given a guidance of mid to high teens on our margins. And clearly we said that we will achieve this mission through a strategy of premiumization, reshaping our portfolio and really breaking out growth on the prestige and above portfolio. And on the popular portfolio, we have been reviewing this for the last few months. And really the thinking was twofold, where lie the future profit pools and where lies our right to win, right? So if we look at the future profit pools, clearly, I mean, with the, growing affluence, with the demographics being the way they are, and the fact that, we will have the third largest affluent household number over the next few years, I think it was very clear, that the profit pools lie in the premium end where we have a very meaningful portfolio. And we also assessed that, our rights to win basis various factors does not exist in the popular segment. And so we decided that the best way to reshape our portfolio was really to give the popular portfolio in the hands of a buyer who can invest behind this portfolio, for whom it will be center of plate, and they can do justice to these brands, and hence the transaction, right? So it is a meaningful reshape of our portfolio and a win-win for the buyer, because for them it makes an entry into spirits and gives them footprint in the south, complementing the strong footprint they have in the north. How we went about this was a very rigorous competitive process. We had Morgan Stanley advising us. We had several bidders. And, obviously we took about 17 months to make the arrangements. It is complex. Ideally, we would have liked to do a full slump sale, and we would have liked to sell all the brands outright. But as we have disclosed, 11 of our brands, including Bagpiper, there is some encumbrance. And, though we have disputed that because we paid all the loans and interest thereof on that, pending the resolution of that, we decided to go in for a franchising arrangement of these 11 brands and outright sale of the 32 brands which were outside this dispute.
So Hina, talk to us about the benefits of this transaction. When will it start showing in your financials? And you must have calculated a numerical impact as well on of this transaction on overall numbers.
So I would say that, look, I mean, the intent of this transaction is that we have enhanced management focus and resource allocation to prestige and above, in service of our breakout growth there, right? And on the EBITDA side, I would say that the margin of this portfolio was more or less in line with portfolio margins, right? So EBITDA margin here is 14-15%. Our portfolio margins are back to 16% pre-COVID levels. So mathematically, there is no addition to margin with this deal, right? It will obviously provide, more growth as management focuses more and puts in more resources. Now, given the volatility in the environment and the fact that we are totally focused right now on closing the deal, I would say that we will be back to discuss, guidance once we have closed out the deal. Sure. And that the environment has settled a bit and is more stable.
Sure, I understand that. Let's take it forward then. Your margin management this quarter, because some of your peers across industry and almost everybody in the country, be it personal balance sheets or be it corporate balance sheets, had to, really navigate it with a lot of difficulty, the environment. Almost everything, the price of everything is going higher. What were the factors or some of the headwinds that you had to also navigate through on margin management this quarter?
I mean, we are facing the inflationary headwinds that everyone else is seeing. I mean, we are facing inflation pressure on, ENA, which is a key ingredient, raw material in our industry, and equally glass, which is again the second largest ingredient in our industry. And we are basically, we press three levers to manage and mitigate inflation, and we've been pressing all of those very robustly. So we've been dialing up our mix. So, premiumization helps to give a price mix kicker. And over the last few quarters, we have been delivering a much higher price mix through our premiumization of portfolio. I mean, we have very strong, proven productivity muscle in the company, and we've really cranked that up. Across the value chain. So whether it's on the net revenue management side, whether it's on supply, COGS, whether it's on the manufacturing side, everywhere we really push for huge productivity. And we are also dialing up our pricing advocacy with the government to, tell them how much inflation there is and for them to let us take some price increases. We've got price increases from 2-3 states and work in process in the other states.
Oh, that's interesting to note that. Let's talk about the double-digit, sustainable double-digit growth commentary, which has also come from your side. Tell us what are the levers of that growth, which once you press, the entire machinery will move into the direction of achieving sustainable double-digit growth. Where is the visibility coming from?
So, I mean, look, if you look at our results over the last year, I mean, that is the best way to illustrate where it's coming from, right? So, I mean, we've clearly accelerated our top line growth momentum. Our prestige and above portfolio has grown at 24% in the year gone by, right? And this is exactly as per strategy. We said we will accelerate our luxury and premium portfolio, which is the Scotches portfolio. That is growing, at very high double digits, right? We have a really solid position there, and that's really growing very high rates of growth. Our recent innovations and renovations in what we call the mid prestige and upper prestige. So we renovated Signature, which is our key brand in upper prestige, with sustainability credentials, which is the new codes of aspiration for consumers in this segment, and that is doing really well. Our renovations have been meaningful, impactful, inclusive, sustainable. We launched Godawan recently, which is our Indian single malt built on sustainability credentials of water preservation in Rajasthan and conserving the Great Indian Buster, right? We've also launched Royal Challenge American Pride, which is an American bourbon-based whiskey, which is really appealing to the young legal drinking age consumers and also women, very accessible liquid. All these are margin accretive, really catering to the consumer codes, to the consumer desire for experimentation and repertoire drinking, and therefore, providing meaningful sort of offerings to the consumer, and we are therefore covering opportunities and increasing our growth. So that's how the double-digit growth is coming. Number one whiskey, had a renovation a year ago. It's continuing to drive momentum, and we are scaling it up, investing behind it. So we really dialed up our participation in prestige whiskey with meaningful renovations, innovations, and that's giving us the double-digit growth that we talked about, and that's what we plan to continue.
Right. I did manage to catch a small film on Godawan, and clearly one can understand that all this innovation which you're doing in your product portfolio must be margin accretive. I want to understand demand trends, because when we analyze some of the other products and services from the same luxury category, be it Mercs and BMW and Audi sale or Rolex sales, one is getting a sense that there is a category which is the luxury or uber luxury category, which is pretty agnostic to inflationary trends and all of that, and there is seem to be a very structural, very high growth, more than rest of the industry, and it is moving upwards. I remember categorically your commentary on HNI growth in India in one of your con calls a couple of quarters back. Do you see that phenomena take grip even more stronger here?
We are absolutely seeing that. So you're absolutely right. Even in our industry, we see that the luxury and premium end has very low price elasticity, and we are able to see a huge growth momentum there, despite all the inflationary headwinds that consumers are seeing around them. And in fact, the premiumization trend has become even more rapid. And we are seeing really strong growth even at the upper end of our prestige portfolio, right? So it is absolutely true. even for our industry. And even though the consumer sentiment is a bit cautious, I think the fact is that we've got enough headroom. We have very low penetration levels in the country, very low per capita income. And I think there's still a lot of headroom for this industry to grow, particularly at the prestige and above end. And that's where we are concentrating all our action. So what you see for the luxury industry in other categories is true for our industry.
Hina, just before I wrap out, a quick word on medium term and more near term kind of areas of focus of the management, and slightly little more on the strategic side. Our viewers, and also your shareholders who are interested in your stock and your company, what would you like to part our discussion with on the message on?
Look, I would say that, we have strong confidence on our strategy. It's proven, right? Our focus on prestige and above has delivered the double-digit top-line growth that we have promised our investors. So we are going to continue to focus on that, and in fact heighten, our focus and management effort on that category. We are of course focused on closing this deal out. It's very critical that we close it satisfactorily. In the near term, like I mentioned, inflationary pressures, obviously the team is, focused on cranking up productivity. We've cranked it up to 2-3 times our historical, rates to mitigate the near-term inflation. But I would say that I think the confidence that comes from demographics, the macro and macroeconomic factors of affluence, growing number of households in the upper end, which you just alluded to, the fact that penetration is still quite low, the fact that we will have 100 million new consumers over the next 5 years coming into this category, all bode really well for our industry. So, we are single-mindedly going to be focusing on transformational innovation, really bringing for consumers the right offerings, sharp, insightful, meaningful, sustainable offerings, and dialing up our work in society. We've really dialed up our ESG work in society, whether it's water or carbon reduction from our operations, water preservation, and plastic waste collection, and inclusive and progressive work on our brands, right? So we are very focused on giving consumers what they want. We are coming from a consumer-back, future-back approach, and we are very confident that we will be able to live up to our promises.
Outstanding. That's so nice to know, Hina, that not only are you aiming at a profitable high growth for the company and the shareholders and stakeholders, but also at a environment and society level, all the other stakeholders also are on your mind. But the only niggling issue with the very high performances, it raises the expectations of your target audience, which I am sure, and I wish you all the luck, you shall fulfill in the coming quarters as well. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you very much. It was great to be here.